Hello, everyone. My name is Korkor. I'm the founder and the CEO of the A.B. Korkor Foundation for Mental Health. Today's webinar is different than what we've had before, but it's still related to the amount of stress that sometimes these holidays bring on, especially when it comes in relationship to spending. Well, we are extremely fortunate today to have with us Mr. Andy Saeger. Andy Saeger is a certified financial planner and a private wealth advisor director at the BMO Wealth Management Group. We're also fortunate that Andy is also on our foundation board. So Andy is going to talk to us about holiday spending and budgeting, and hopefully help us remove some of the stress that goes along with this. Well, for those of you who are watching, a little bit of a housekeeping. You can always ask questions. There is a chat room on the side here, to the side of your screen. You can ask questions, and we will address those after the end of the presentation. In addition, this presentation will be available on our website, and it will also be available as a podcast pretty soon. So thank you so much for joining us, and welcome, Andy. Here he is.
Hi, good afternoon.
Go ahead.
All right, and I wanted to start off today by just saying Happy Veterans Day, and thank you to all the millions of men and women who have protected and defended our country so selflessly and provide freedom around the world. And it's a really special day, and hopefully everyone can think about all our veterans today and what the sacrifices they've given for our country. And it's a beautiful sunny day out there, and it's crazy to think we are only 2 weeks away from Thanksgiving and 44 days away from Christmas. So I figured I should wear my Christmas tie today. And after having multiple days in a row of 70 degrees, it's bizarre to think that Christmas is only 44 days away, but it's an exciting time of the year. And but it can also be a stressful time of the year because of finances, especially in a crazy year like 2020 with COVID and the impact it has had on many people. It could be even a more stressful year when it comes to financial impact amongst all the other stressors that we're dealing with in our life right now. So today what I'd like to focus on is just give 8 simple ways to take control of your holiday spending to try to take as much stress out of it as possible. And just a quick background on who I am. As Adel mentioned, I'm on the board, and I've been on the board for a few years. It's been a great experience. I am a private wealth advisor for BMO Wealth Management. I'm a financial planner, so what I do for clients every day is financial planning and helping them with their plans, making sure that they are able to reach their goals, whether it's saving for a house or saving for retirement, saving for kids' college, or getting their spending in check. That's a big thing we help a lot of clients with, especially this time of the year as we get into the holidays. Year end is taking a look at their budget and helping them understand how everything fits together. So I'm going to talk through some 8 simple ways to control your holiday spending and try to help you out, answer questions at the end. So if you're like most Americans, you're probably going to open up your wallet a lot this month to buy winter holiday gifts for family and friends. If you're like my family and you have a lot of individuals that you need to buy gifts for, it can be very stressful. I have my significant other, Carlene, and I have 5 kids, and I have 3 siblings, 6 nieces and nephews. You know, we have mom and dad, father-in-law, mother-in-law. So there's a lot of people that we certainly look to buy gifts for. So the expenses start to add up. And if you look at 2019, according to the National Retail Federation, the average consumer spent a little over $1,000 just on gifts. And when you think about holiday season, gifts aren't the only expense. You have to add on holiday decorations, special meal ingredients, festive outing costs, party supplies, traveling, Maybe we won't be doing as much traveling this year because of COVID, so that could be an expense that we don't have this year, but things start to add up quickly. So how do we keep things in check? And how do we make sure that we're not dipping into our other buckets of financial goals? And talking a little bit about my family, I'm going to be thinking a little extra about how much I spend on holidays this year, because we are looking to put a deck on our house, and that's a big expense. So I need to take a look at my personal finances and decide, all right, we have this goal out there of building this deck, and I have a savings account. How much can I afford to dip into for holiday season, knowing this is a big spend year of putting money into the deck? So I'm sure a lot of you are like that as well, where you have certain expenses out there that you want to save for, and in order to accomplish those goals, you need to make sure you keep your holiday spending in check. So let's talk a little bit about how we can control that spending and figure out how much we are going to spend this year. The first way to do this is take a look at how much do you spend on your holiday expenses last year. That's sometimes a tough one to figure out. My recommendation is go back, take a look at last year's credit card statements, last year's bank statements, and figure out what did you spend. And again, add up all those categories we talked about, not only gifts, but travel expenses, meals, and maybe if you threw a special party, how much you spent there, and get a gauge for what were my expenses. These numbers will give you a good starting point for deciding how much to spend this year, and how does that fit in? Is that a number that's attainable? Did you spend too much? Did you feel you could spend a little bit more? And it's not, don't feel like you're Scrooge if you can't afford to spend that much this year. You need to take a look at your budget and figure out how much can I spend in comparison to that last year. And what we usually find out is we are a little blown away by the amount we spend each year. And that's a really good guide, is going back at those old statements and taking a look at the number and then working with it into this year. Then when you have an overall budget, find creative ways to stay within your spending range so you don't have to stress out about it as much. And a smart goal is really to spend only as much as you can afford without dipping into your emergency spending, your emergency savings. And what does emergency savings mean? It's typically money that you have set aside for emergencies in case you were to lose a job. You want to typically have 6 to 12 months of emergency money set aside. And that's money that you don't want to dip into for holiday spending if you don't have to, because you need that there in case you're going to do a financial crunch. And if you are using credit cards, don't use credit cards and think about it as you're not spending. You do need to pay off those credit card balances in full, because you don't want to put money on the credit card and then go into the new year with a debt hangover. It's just not fun. So make sure if you're using credit cards, you're very cognizant of what you're spending so you can pay that off. Once you settle on how much you'll spend, then make a detailed list of expected holiday expenses. And you want to make sure you assign a dollar amount to each of them when you are doing that. And once you have a dollar amount assigned to each item, think about how much I'm spending on a tree, how much I'm spending on party budget, how much am I spending on gifts. Take a look at that gift list and decide how much you want to spend on each person. And then you can start to tweak your spending targets until your total matches your holiday budget. That's very, very important, is make sure you stay in line, and as you spend, keep track of it and figure out, did I spend too much there? Do I need to cut somewhere else? And keep tabs on your totals. And creating a budget is a great start, but stick to it. And as you're shopping, you want to make sure you're following through. So revisit your spending amounts as you go. And you might spend a little bit more than expected on a certain item that you did last year. But if you do that, a good trade-off might be to spend less somewhere else. Maybe it's you spend less on a coworker, or you spend less, maybe you're not traveling this year, so you spend less there. But being flexible helps keep your spending on track. Then you want to go and you want to set some limits. One easy option is to maybe pick names instead of buying gifts for everyone. In my family, what we do, my siblings and I decided that we're not going to buy gifts for each other this year. And for nieces and nephews and kids, we are going to pick names for nieces and nephews. And that way we're only spending on one child and not spending anything on adults. So that's been a good solution for us in our family, as there's a few members that have been financially impacted by COVID this year. So that takes the stress away from them feeling they have to spend money on siblings or on nieces and nephews. We also decided that instead of the money that we're spending on each other, if there is extra money, we are going to be giving to charity instead. We understand all the organizations out there that have really been impacted this year because of COVID. They need money more than we do. So we're going to set aside the gifts and put money in a pot and give to our charities that are close to our hearts. And chances are that, most people are going to jump at that opportunity if you bring that up and feel good about that. But it's important for someone to step up and come up with that recommendation for the family. And for name picking, it's just, there's different websites out there if you want to take a look at them that can help with that process to take the work out of it. If there's a lot of members in the family you're picking names with, just Google out. I think there's a site called Elfster and name drawing that would really help with that. So agree on I would also, if you are going to be buying gifts for individuals, agree on a maximum dollar amount each person's going to spend. When we talk about, in my family, buying that one present for a niece or nephew, we're putting a limit on that of, maybe it's $25, maybe it's $50. That way, when you're at the store shopping for that special person in the family, you don't feel the stress of how much should I spend here, and everybody else is spending a similar amount of money. And then also, when you think about shopping for your significant other or children, put a limit on how many gifts you're going to buy for your kids or your significant other. Maybe that's a 3-gift maximum for kids, or maybe like my significant other and I talked about this year, because we do have this big deck project going. We decided, let's not buy gifts for each other. At the end of the day, for your significant other, I think it is important that you do still buy something or do something special, right? You don't have to spend a lot of money, but maybe it's an experience. Maybe it's taking a weekend getaway at a low cost option, or just giving a really special card. But at least do something, but maybe just don't spend as much on each other as you normally would if you're in a financial crunch in 2020. And one of the traps that I've found myself getting caught up in, and I'm sure a lot of people do, is buying gifts for yourself. Try to avoid self-shopping during holiday season. It's really easy when you jump on Amazon buying for other individuals to something pops up, because there's algorithms out there in the internet that they know us, they follow us, they know what we like, and stuff starts popping up, whether it's on Facebook or Amazon. And it's really easy to get caught up in, oh, that would be fun to buy for myself. Try to resist that temptation and not buy for yourself during the holiday season, and wait. Maybe come January, you have some extra money, and maybe that gift has been deeply discounted, and you can go ahead and buy it at that point in time. Or you might decide come January that, you know what, I got caught up in the excitement of the holidays. I don't need that for myself anymore. Or if you do get caught up buying something for yourself and it arrives in the mail, maybe think twice about that and say, I should probably return that. I don't need this. I'm going to have that take that extra money and spend on others or give to charity. Then there's, when you're online shopping, which most people will probably be doing in 2020, it seems to be the trend, in going into stores just isn't as safe as it used to be. Since we are online so much, some retailers hopefully aren't going to trick us and have the lowest they might not always have the lowest price listed when something pops up on your screen. You want to make sure that you are searching around and finding the lowest advertised prices, because as I mentioned, these retailers have access to our browsing history and start popping things up of interest on our websites, and they might not be the best deal. So search different online saving sites like there's a couple websites out there, Retail Me Not or Rakuten, which is formerly Ebates, that they'll give you coupon codes or rebates for thousands of online retailers. So just do a lot of searching, price comparison, and make sure you are getting the best deal out there without just the first thing that pops on your screen. I know it's easy for me when I'm on Amazon and I'm shopping and things just start popping. You may be interested in this. You may be interested in this. It's really easy to start filling up that cart without even looking at, is that the lowest price out there right now, or should I be doing some more searching? When it comes to shipping costs, it's sometimes really easy to get caught up in paying for shipping, especially if we wait to the last minute in buying our gifts. Sometimes I get caught up in that where I get really busy with life, and before I know it, it's 2 days before Christmas and I need to buy for a few more people, so I have to do the rush shipping. Try not to get caught up in that. Start looking now, start looking at gifts right now. And even though it seems really early, the season will be here before we know it. I've got a kind of a funny story here. Our daughter Layla got on our Amazon a few days ago and just started putting things in the cart, somehow got through all the prompts and purchased a bunch of gifts for herself. So we got in the mail about 8 different presents the other day, and so we already have her shopping done now. We told her, you're not getting those gifts now, your shopping is done, and we're returning some of that. But it got me thinking, well, it's time to start shopping. Let's get ahead of this, give some time for shipping, get the free shipping. If you are a member of Amazon Prime, sometimes it's worth it to pay for that or get the free service for a week to get that free shipping, but don't get caught up in paying a lot for shipping if you don't have to. And then when it comes down to, we talked about this earlier, if you are buying gifts, it's okay to use credit cards because you can get credit card points or cashback rewards. Take a look at any credit cards that you've had or any of the cashback options out there and see, do you have money from prior purchases that you can use towards gifts? Are there any retailers out there offering special discounts for buying from multiple different gifts from that same retailer? But if you are using that credit card, make sure that you are paying that off shortly thereafter. But take advantage of the points or the cash back and use that for future purchases. So with a little pre-planning and creative thinking, the holidays don't need to break the bank. And if you have a little holiday budget money left at the end of the year, certainly feel free to maybe give yourself that special gift, or your significant other that special gift. Or my recommendation is use the funds to pay down debt or contribute towards the next important financial goal, because as we know, life is expensive and there's always going to be an expense that pops up, whether it's something with the home, something with your family, something with your car, or needing to pay for college in the future, needing to pay down debt. Really focus on taking any extra money that you didn't spend in your budget and put it towards an important goal, or invest it if you can. If you have any questions for me, you can certainly feel free to send me an email. My email is andy.saeger@bmo.com. That's andy.saeger@bmo.com. Or you can feel free to call me directly. I'm happy to talk any of this through and give you some ideas how I'm helping others through this. My number is 414-308-0632. And I'm going to stick around here with Adil, and we can open it up to any questions, live questions or chat questions that may come up.
Thank you very much, Andy. Thank you. That was really wonderful and practical. I did look at the slides, of course, before you gave this presentation, and I really found them to be very practical and very useful. Well, I guess some of the questions I actually have myself, and having raised a family of 4 children and the challenges that happens around the holidays. How do you feel in today's age about gift certificates that kids give in, or how do you see that fit into the gift giving, and how is this not only affect you, because also impact the person that you're giving to, because they may look at this and say, what is this? It might not mean much to them because it's not the thing that they asked for, the thing that they wish to have, but now they have some resources that they can go out and do it. How do you deal with that on both sides?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. I look at it 2 ways. A gift certificate can be nice because somebody has time to use that. They may use it 6 months from now, and then they think of you, and that's special, right? They think back, wow, Adam gave me this gift certificate at Christmas time, and I wasn't able to use it, but now I'm using it, and it's special. So it's kind of that gift that keeps on giving. There's also a part of me that sometimes feels it's not as personal. It depends where the gift certificate's from. If it's to a special restaurant that they love, that's special. But if it's just a gift card to a Target or a Walmart, that's maybe not as personal or as special. And if you really are on a budget, sometimes I find it's easier to maybe find a gift that doesn't cost as much, and that other party receiving it doesn't know how much that cost. Where when you give a gift certificate, you might feel obligated to give a little bit more because there's a value on that gift certificate or that gift card. So I think about it a couple different ways.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, do you find it acceptable among children? Your kids are quite a bit younger than mine, so do you think a child who is like 7 or 8 years old could look at a gift certificate and find it, oh, this is, what do you thought?
Yeah, it's tough with kids that age, right? Because one of the things that I feel is important is every birthday, every holiday, I put money into their college savings account, their 529s. And to them, that means nothing at this point in time because I have 5 kids under the age of 9. College to them is just not even a thought in their mind. So I try to talk to them about the importance of this is money that is going towards you and your future. And you're going to thank me one day when you don't have to put as much towards your own college. But as you know, having raised 4 kids when they were younger, they just want the hot gift or the hot technology. But it's all about trying to put things in perspective and let them know that, listen, you don't need all those things. You look at what we bought last year. How many of those gifts are you actually still using today? Probably not a huge majority, but it is still important. You want to make it special for kids because it is a special time of the year. So you want to try to give as much as you can for them, but keep it within budget. Don't go overboard. Don't feel that you need to impress your kids. Don't feel guilty that maybe you haven't spent as much time with them, so I'm going to compensate by giving them more gifts. That's just not what it's about. What it's truly about is time spent with your kids, being with them, spending the holiday season with them, trying to make it special by taking them, through a holiday light display or to a special, watch a special movie together. You don't have to spend money on gifts all the time to make it special. You can do it in other ways without spending as much money.
I have a question here from someone in regard to, the conversation that you would have was a subject of no gift for SIBs and gifts exchanged for youngsters.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this might be a hard conversation to start. Any suggestions of how to approach that?
Well, loved ones definitely should understand if you're maybe in a tough financial spot. And you don't even have to say I'm in a tough financial spot. You can just say, this has been a tough year on everyone, and there's so many other people out there that may be in more need than we are. Why don't we think about not buying each other gifts this year? And why don't, for nieces, nephews, whatever it may be, why don't we pick names so we're not feeling obligated to spend money on everyone? And when I had this conversation with my family, everyone was immediately on board. Just, yes, that is a fantastic idea. Because if, as we grow older and as we become adults, gifts just aren't as meaningful as they were when we're kids. So what I find is that every year it just kind of became an obligation to buy for someone else and trying to figure out what to buy for them. And yeah, gifts are always appreciated, absolutely. But it goes back to what I was saying before, is it's more about the time spent with each other and being with each other than about buying that special present. And if you can save money for yourself personally and not have to spend it on gifts for others, yet be able to spend the time with them, or have extra money left over to give to a charitable organization, that feels so much more special than actually giving to it.
I completely agree with you in regard to the and I think that's something that we often underestimate the value of it. And when it comes to, how do you tell a child or an adult, for that matter, is that my gift for you is that this year we're going to do 12 hikes together. We're going to spend a special time every Saturday for this couple months out of the year that we're going to be kayaking. We're going to be spending time together. And I don't know, to be honest with you, as I get older, I realize that the gift of time is so important and so valuable because, time is very precious. In the same way, money is finite, time is finite. We're all living in a very much of a journey in this world. We're here and we're gone. So offering a gift of time for your loved ones is something that I think could be very helpful and very useful to improve that sense of appreciation of the time that we spend together and that we share together. What are your thoughts on that?
Completely agree, and it kind of goes back to your gift certificate thought earlier. You can give hand your child or special someone that you can make it and hand it to them and say, here's 12 coupons for different life events in the future. We're gonna, like you said, go hiking or go kayaking, or here's a night out at the movies, or whatever it may be. And that way there's a physical, still you're handing something to them and it's tangible to them, and they can look through and read it and they can keep it, and then they can pull that out when they want to take advantage and use that special gift. And again, that's the gift that keeps on giving. It's not, if you're giving 12 gifts all at once, sometimes I just find I look at my kids, I'm like, do you even appreciate this right now? You're just going from one gift to the next and you're just opening, and you don't even know who this is from, and you didn't even take the time to look at this. And I know they appreciate it, but if you can hand them something and say, here's 10 to 12 experiences for the future where we're going to spend time together, that's going to go a long way. And as long as you follow through on those and you make sure that you do those with your child, that's also important.
Yeah, thank you. I have a question here in regard to how do you schedule your payments for the holiday expenses? Let's say you budget and it's on your credit card, and now you have. Are you a believer that you really need to pay your credit card in full every month?
It depends. It depends what your interest rate is on your credit card. There's a number of credit cards out there that are offering the 0% for a year or 18 months, whatever it may be. If you have a 0% card, you definitely don't have to pay it in full. Just make your minimum payments so you aren't getting hit with those late fees. And then make sure you are setting a reminder for that exact date, whether it's in a year or 14 months or 16 months, when that 0% falls off. Make sure that is paid off in full at that time, so you are not paying interest to a credit card. Some of these credit cards can get up near 20% interest rate, and that can turn ugly quickly. If you have a balance on your credit card and you're at 20% and you're not paying that off, that will snowball, and that is debt you do not want to take on. So credit cards are fine and you can get rewards and points, but if you have interest bearing credit cards and you're not paying that in full each month, that could become a problem. Now, you may be in a financial situation where you just can't afford to pay it off. Well, try to keep your spending under control, or just pay off as much as you can each month and just start chipping away at that, or find a different way to pay that off. Maybe some lower cost debt. You're taking out a home equity line on your house that's lower cost, or if you have a investment portfolio, taking money out of there at a lower interest rate to pay off that credit card debt. But try to avoid long-term credit card debt if you can, or look for those 0% credit card promotions out there. If you are in a situation where you can't pay it off all at once, try to find a 0% credit card to get you to that point until you can pay that off.
Yeah, thank you. I have for you, and this is something that I've come across, and I've seen quite a bit of it being talked about, is that, if a child is in a position where they have to start thinking about what they're gifting themselves. So now, the holiday time is a time that they get gift, but how can we help change their thinking process, that it's not just about the time for you to get gift, it's to receive gift, but it's also a time for you to think about others and others' needs. And I've seen some people talking about like creating some kind of a charity trust, or even like a small foundation that would be named in the kid's name, that the grandparents or the parents could put money in that. Or if the kid, for example, put a penny in it, the grandparent put the 3 pennies in it. If they put $1 in it, then the grandparents can, or the parents can match that. That way, then the kids could look at the fact that they do have some funds of their own that they don't spend on themselves, they can spend on others and help others, or other causes that can help, either with environmental or neighborhood related or other type of related activities. What are your thoughts on that, and how difficult it is to pursue such structure financially?
I am all for the matching program of, hey, if we take this $10 that you received from Uncle Joe and we put it into this account, I will match that and make that $20. And that's a great strategy, because there's incentive for them to save their money and watch that grow. And I don't know if that's putting that money into a piggy bank so they can physically see that, or bringing up a website so they can see an account online where they can watch their money go in. You move it from your account to theirs, and then you show putting your money in as well, so that can grow. And then they can keep an eye on that. Maybe you log in every week, every month with them to see how that account can grow. Maybe it's that 529 account, and say, this money, see how it's growing. Every time we put money in here, this is going to go towards your college. So it's just about giving them exposure and allowing them to see it. And at the same time, thinking about giving to others and giving back is get out in the community and have them volunteer with you. Take them to a food pantry. One of the big things that we do every year for our kids is we start going through their old toys, their old anything that they're just not playing with anymore, and we put it all into a big pile, and then we start putting it into boxes, and we drive it over to whether it's Goodwill or St. Vincent de Paul, or to a church or wherever it may be, so they can actually see those items of theirs being given to a child that's really in need. We really try to talk about how blessed they are to be able to even receive one gift, let alone 5 gifts, and others can't even receive any gifts. So how can we help those people? We can give things that they aren't using and give back to the
Right.
community.
I know you're probably going to laugh at this, but the challenges that I have, for that store or when you go online, you just indicated that people know what your shopping strategy is and remind you of the things that you had bought before and remind me of things that may be on sale. It's almost like you have to really vaccinate yourself. Now we're talking about vaccine, vaccinate yourself about how you become resistant to those impulsive desires to buy certain things because they're on sale, because buy one get another one half off, buy one get one free. Suddenly you were supposed to buy one thing and now you end up with two things because they are cheaper, and everybody understand the psychology behind that. But do you have really any practical advice of how we can all deal with those impulsiveness nature that is really more created because people understand our psychology, understand what drives us, so they actually put us in front of us? Any suggestion? How do you deal with it?
Well, I'm guilty of it as well. It's really, really hard. The temptation of, especially with cell phones these days, they're right in front of you, and whatever, you might pull up social media and boom, something pops into your feed and you immediately think, wow, I need that. That is something that I would love to have. And I would go back to what I talked about earlier and take a look at your budget, have a budget, and keep that top of mind in front of you, whether you're reviewing that weekly, monthly. Make sure can I afford that? And if not, don't buy it. Wait until you have that excess money. Maybe you get a bonus this year from work and you have extra money, and now you can go back and say, all right, do I still need that? Do I still want that? Okay, now I'm gonna spend that on myself. But you need to take a look at your overall financial plan, your overall financial situation, and figure out what's important. What goals am I saving for? Is that retirement? Is it college savings? Is it to buy a house? Is it to pay down debt? And then also make sure you have that emergency savings bucket in place where if something happens, you lose a job, you run into a health situation and you need extra money, that you have that emergency savings. And if that doesn't, if you don't have those things, and if you haven't reached your goals or aren't saving towards those important goals, then do not buy that gift. So have that budget, whether it's, it pops up a weekly reminder, take a look at my budget. How am I doing throughout the year? Just keep that top of mind. It's not fun. Nobody wants to have a budget. No one wants to revisit that budget, especially if times are tough, but you have to at the end of the day, and then remind yourself, maybe I don't really need this at this time, even though it's a nice to have.
So I think as long as you have that budget, of course, is the way to go. And just buying things on credit, it's easy to say, well, it happened. One thing that I do, and I found that if I say to myself, if I'm going to buy that one thing, it has to replace something that I already have. So really think about the space that you have. Think about how much you have in the closet. Think how much that your kids have in their room, and say, okay, honey, you want this for Christmas, but what is it that you now have that you need to get rid of to find a space for this? It's not only the fact that you have a budget that you have to deal with, but also you have to have a space that whatever it is, if it's a bicycle, if it's another piece of clothing. So, well, what is it that you're going to get rid of to make room for this new thing that you're adding? And suddenly you don't end up with a, garage full of stuff that, it's just stuff, It's a strategy that I thought that might be helpful to suggest. What do you think?
I completely agree. It's so easy to spoil your kids, right? We love our kids so much and we love to spoil them and see smiles on their faces. And but if you don't take a step back and realize, do they really need that? They already have that. But yes, if something is breaking down and it's really important to them, and we can create that space by getting rid of that, and maybe that it's still can be used, but it's just something they're not really using that much anymore. If we can gift that to a charitable organization, to a child that really needs it, or maybe it's a situation where you can sell some of their old stuff and have them be a part of that process. Go on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or whatever it may be and start selling some of their stuff so they can see the power of how extra money can come in, and then they can take that money and use it to go buy something else. Or what we do in our household is we have our kids do chores like we used to do when we were kids, right? It's a novel idea. I had chores all the time when I was a kid, and in order to make money, I had to do things around the house. So we have our kids with their chore chart, and they are not, they don't get that. Once they hit a certain amount of tick marks, then there's maybe some money that can go towards going on Amazon and buying something. So make your kids work for it and make them be a part of that process so they see what the value of spending money means.
Awesome. Yeah, I completely agree. I think that building and understanding that, well, you've earned this because of what you've done, and you have more appreciation for the value of the money that you have at hand. So it's not going to be, I'm going to spend it today because my dad's going to give me some more next day, or he's going to figure out a way to pay for me.
Right. Yeah. Our kids need to understand the value of what $1 is, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And if you spend that $20, what is that taking away from?
That's right. That's right. Two practical questions. What percentage of your income one should really be saving? Number one. And number two, how much saving does an average family need to have? We are living in a very uncertain environment with jobs on the line for a number of type of jobs, not all jobs, but certain jobs at more risk than others. But for the most part, number one, how much should we really be saving out of our paycheck every month? And number two, what should be the total amount of saving that we have on hand to address emergencies and try to be able to use that as a benchmark to determine how much we need to have a budget for Christmas or for spending?
Yeah, it's kind of all over the board. I've heard this 50-30-20 budgeting method, which suggests you spend 50% of your income on essentials, you save 20%, and then you leave 30% of your income for discretionary purchases. So to answer your question, if you can save 20% each month, whether it's through your 401k, whether it's through a 529 college savings account, or whether it's putting towards that emergency savings account, if you can do it, kudos to you. It's tough. It's really tough to take that 20% and save it. But if you can do that, you're going to thank yourself down the road, because that'll start to accumulate. And if you can invest that wisely, that'll grow. And before you know it, you're fulfilling those goals that you want in the future, whether it's retiring earlier or having your kids' college mostly paid for, or paying down that debt or buying that house. It's a really fulfilling moment when you can hit those milestones rather than spending that hot new item, that new iPhone or whatever it may be, or that hot toy for your kid. It's saving is hard, but it pays off in the end. It absolutely does.
And how much do you have on hand?
How much should you have on hand for emergency?
How much should we have on hand for emergency situations, and how much should we have on hand? Let's say someone who have a combined income of 100,000 or 120,000, and what should they be? What should they have in saving?
Well, I think it's not so much about how much somebody makes; it's how much they spend. Because somebody could make $40,000 a year and be able to save $10,000 a year, somebody could make 500,000 a year and not save because they spend it all. So it's really more about the lifestyle that you want to have and how much you need to save for that. So that goes back to that importance of a financial plan and building out that roadmap to determine what are the important goals in your life and how much do you need to save in order to reach those goals. So I don't know if there's really a set dollar amount or again, going back to what I was saying before, 20% per month, if you can save that, that's just that rule of thumb. But everybody's situation is different. Everybody lives differently. Individuals have different retirement dates when they want to retire. Some people don't even want to own a home. Some people are fine renting, so they don't need to save for that house. And some people don't have children. They don't need to save for college. Some people have 5 kids like me and need to save a lot for college. So every individual is different. It's your own personal situation, but building out that roadmap, not only is a budget important, but having a financial plan in place to make sure you get everything down on paper and figure out what are those goals that are important and how much do you need to save to reach those goals.
Great. I have a question. Someone who really overspends and then they really build a lot of debts. Where they can get help, to help them deal with it. I know that there are some agencies that can help people who have really pushed themselves over the edge. The question is where can they get help to get them back on the financial solvency?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm not sure what those agencies are when it comes to debt help, but I would definitely just talk to any of your trusted advisors that you work with, whether it's a local bank or it's a family member or just a friend. Just reach out to people. I think the hardest thing is to admit when you are struggling, but what we typically find out is when we start to reach out to people, people are willing to help. So don't ever feel that you can't ask for help, no matter what your situation is in life, whether it's financial or emotional or physical issues. Just reach out to loved ones and first start there and see if any of your loved ones are willing to step in and help. I know I've had a number of family members who have reached out to me, have reached out to my family, and I've had to get help in different ways. And I'm always blown away at the love and support of family and friends. So I would probably start there. But when it comes to agencies, I don't really have a specific agency that people can reach out to. But hopefully one of your advisors out there can help you with that.
I think that there are some, and who they are, but individuals who there are some state agencies, and there's some, people who have certain impulsive buying, and they go on a shopping spree and they spend a lot of money, and then now they're stuck with a huge credit card. I know that there are agencies out there that can help with that and help them finance their credit card debt at a cheaper rate and then be able to pay it over a longer period of time.
Yeah. There definitely are.
I don't quite recall which companies, and I know certain banks might help with that, or certain financial institutions might help them consolidate their credit card debt, because that's often the most expensive debt, isn't it? Credit card debt. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Like I said earlier, it can get up to 20% plus. And there's typically other ways where you can reduce the interest rate. And sometimes it's just even reaching out to your credit card company and telling them your story, especially in 2020 and with COVID. It seems that most organizations are willing to help. And whether it's just temporary help of bringing down the interest rate for 6 months or allowing you not to have to make payments for 6 months because of a financial situation, and it just reach out and share your story, and hopefully they'll be willing to step up, or reach out to, I'm not really a huge fan of having multiple credit cards, but if you can somehow get another credit card and get that 0% offer, and you can move some debt over to 0% for a year, it's worth looking around.
Right. Well, I have a question here about how many credit card should someone have, and what do you think about all these credit cards that are offered by retailers that offers a lower rate? And I know friends who have credit cards for every retailer out there, and because they get certain benefits from this and that and the other, and suddenly you have 10 credit card bills coming at the end of the month. What are your thoughts? Should there be 1 or 2 credit cards, or should you take advantage of all these credit cards that retailers are offering you?
I'm okay having multiple credit cards as long as you're paying those off every month, and you're not racking up interest charges, and you're making your payments where you're not getting late pay charges. That's where these credit card companies are making a ton of money right now, because people don't make their payments when they're supposed to, and then all of a sudden there's a $30 charge every month or whatever it may be, or interest starts to snowball. So if you are disciplined enough to pay off your credit cards and your retail cards every month and make your minimum payments on time, I'm okay with that, but it takes a lot of discipline. I personally, I have a credit card through Discover. I have a credit card through BMO where I work, and then I have a Target card because I shop at Target all the time. That's it, right? But I found myself, I had a couple additional cards, and it was just so hard to keep on top of all that. I said, done. I'm going to keep this down to 3 cards. And I talked to some people who have 1 card, and that's all. They just know they can only have 1 card, otherwise they're going to get themselves in trouble. But it's okay. Don't feel bad if you have multiple cards, if you're making your payments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a strong believer in having 1 card, maybe 2. Mm-hmm. And you get 1 bill. You're not constantly. I've had many temptations to get credit cards for Macy's and this and that, because they offer you 20% when you go in there. When you realize, well, now you have $80 a year of charges that they apply to that card, and might not kick in the first year, but it'll kick in the next year. So yeah, I'm like you. I'm more of a simplify it and keep it at 1 or 2 cards, and that way you have more control, especially if it's a card that allows you to earn points, especially if it's airline or some other benefits. Well, Andy, this was absolutely phenomenal. I really appreciate it, and I hope that the message comes loud and clear that you can have less holiday spending by budgeting and by sticking to the budget. And remember that the gift of time is most precious for all of us. So thank you, Andy, so much, and thanks for all of you who joined us, and also remember us in your gift giving as we move forward. abkorkorfoundation.org. We appreciate it, so we can continue to provide those programs to you, and have a wonderful holiday season. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.